Hello everybody, and I'll be showing you how to actually model something like this, converting a high poly mesh texture for like the PC land terrain into a more of an Android mobile game terrain. I'll be detailing texturing, layer texturing similar to image layer imaging, and then finally, some examples on normal maps, bump maps, and such forth, and how to model texture and then export. And then I'll be showing you what it looks like in the Unity game engine. So let's get started. As you can see in this example, I have a grass texture. Then I have a grass dirt texture over here, and then actually under this whole thing I have a dirt texture. As you can see, part of right here, hopefully right here. So I have multiple layers giving it detail. I also have a rock. I actually have two rock textures. The first one you can probably see very well, and then the second one you probably can't see, but it's there, and it's actually showing right here, part of it right here. I use multiple layering to give me an example, and actually I have three rock textures. The green shading, the green tint that you see right here, because normally it looks like this, but the green shading gives an older feel, gives it a more rustic, like it's been there for a million years. It's growing mold on it. It's not gonna erupt lava anytime soon. There's not gonna be anything special here, but that's the hidden effect. So I'm going to show you how to create something like this, and then show you what it looks like in the Unity engine with cartoon effect or just regular diffuse maps on it, or even normal. Probably not normal maps. This map wouldn't be the best with normal maps. It'd probably be great with either bump map or a height map, or maybe a slight AO map, which basically it gives a more realistic feel to it. So we're going to actually go to a totally new scene. So we're going to go to new plane. Don't face camera. Don't resize. We're going to click new. Yes, everything will be lost. I already have this saved though, so I'm going to be using this. Changes will be lost. That's fine with me. And what we're going to actually do is just look around. It's a perfect square. It has 2,048 triangles. It has symmetry on. It has wireframe on, and I really, really highly suggest you keep wireframe on. Painting, texturing the whole thing until it becomes, if you're working on 1 billion triangles, probably want to have it off, because you're going to see nothing but lines, white lines, and it becomes then very frustrating. But keep it on for now, because it's going to help us guide us to a PC terrain to an Android model terrain, because if you're going to have a huge terrain and you want detail but not too much detail, you're going to be using a terrain, and then you're going to have assets on the terrain. You're going to have boxes that the character destroys. You're going to have other stuff, and it's going to take a lot of CPU power, and you can't put a whole lot of effects and all that stuff onto terrain. But this will allow you to be able to cheat the system but give you great details, which some of the Android games actually miss right now, unless you have one of the Tegra systems or one of those. I think they're coming out with an i3, i5 little Android, not Android, but those little tablet things. But that would be very interesting. But right now they're really expensive. So right now we're going to click draw. Now this is our draw little scheme right here. You can have a brush. I usually don't have brushes, because it's not how I work. So I have a brush right here, but I'm going to actually disable that because I don't want a brush. I wanted a rounded effect to it. I'm going to increase the strength just a smidge. Detail will be down because I actually just want to use the triangles that I have. So I'm gonna start drawing, creating a meeting point Basically, this is like a cavern area, a lava area, level, that's dried now is, something that the place where the character needs to be. And I have, the symmetry on because it's a cavern-istic area, and then it's into a cave. The character, is supposed to be here. Actually, I have some meeting up of the trials, which I didn't really want. So, okay, I'm going to take off. Moving with shift and the middle mouse button here, right here. So it gives you movement. Now you can also move with the grab function, which is really nice. Grab, I said grab. Okay, enable it. By clicking it, left clicking, you can just drag it around. Shift, middle mouse up. I don't usually use these right here, rotate, scale, and smooth. I don't usually, not smooth, but grab. I don't usually use them. I use shift, middle mouse button to grab, middle mouse button clicked, rotating it. Sizing it, I occasionally use it a little bit more, but I don't usually size stuff up. I just zoom in. So I'm going to actually use crease to give the rounded edges a more realistic feel, so it's your character can walk straight up to it. So I'm going to actually decrease the strength so that I'm not killing the system. And I'm going to just, there we go, and since I have symmetry on, it's going to do it on both sides. I'm going to take symmetry off now to give it a more realistic feel and start modeling individual areas of it. This is typically a one-way operation. You can go back, but expect some problems, but you can go back and forwards. You're going to click OK, and we're going to actually go back to draw, and we're going to start, building some randomness to it. Start building some areas around here. Oops. Sorry about that. And we're actually starting, building randomness to it, so it doesn't look like, we just spent 5 seconds on it, and it's like, oh, wow, what a level. You really don't want a whole lot. Now, I'm redoing and undoing because I want a certain look. Not exactly sure what type of look, because, this is me going, I'm stretching the triangles I have right now. I'm going to actually increase detail, which will actually start creating triangles, which will allow me to explore the creation of this layer. Do I want something super realistic, or do I want something more cartoony? This isn't the most realistic game. It's a adventure fantasy sci-fi-ish game, similar to Jak and Dexter. That looks fine, but I have a problem. If this is a Android game, I can't have all these triangles here. I'm now going to go to the reduced triangle count, but first I'm actually going to start to smooth this out because it's just too much right now. I'm going to go flatten it so it doesn't look so rigid. And then I'm actually going to go, you can go reduce selected, but since I'm going to use this as a land tile, similar to a 2D tile, I can't do that. I have to go to the reduce brush. And then I have to basically use this as a print brush and say, what triangles do I want to get rid of? And since I can get rid of, a good, 60% of these triangles and still keep the general shape, I'm going to do that. It's what we call as-need textures. If you have the budget of 4 million triangles, but you only need 1 million, why are you using the other triangles? If you have acquired the job, you acquired the the shape. You have basically acquired the shape you need. You don't need to add anything else. You can easily use those triangles somewhere else. I will be adding in an immense amount of other stuff. I will be adding in platforms for the character to jump in. Enemy characters in this level too. So why would I, spend, the triangle count on something when I've like said, okay, this is how I want it. This is exactly how I want it. Why would I spend even more? If like this one triangle can be made up of 6 triangles, but it's acquired the shape I need already. Okay, this is pretty much it. Now what I usually do is I will go over it again. I will low poly it almost to the point where it's the basic form of what I need. But it's like 569 triangles. So I want to go back to modeling and just click it once and you'll see a bunch of triangles pop up. And then say, do I want to model any more? Now I don't, because this is actually how I want it. The character's just gonna come in, defeat a bunch of guys, and then enter into a cave door area, basically a mine shaft to go into an underground area and defeat some more bad guys. So this isn't a specifically detailed level where I have on other levels to where the character is going to be staying in that level for 10-20 minutes defeating bad guys. So I don't need a whole lot of detail for this level, but I do want it to look pretty. I do want it to look like I did spend some time on this, and actually I have spent time on this. Now I don't want it too large because I don't want too many bad guys. I don't want the character staying here, spending so much time here. But I do want him, being able to enjoy himself before he gets to the next loading screen. So I'm going to go straight to paint. We have the ability to go to 20 by 48 all the way to 256. Now I'm going to choose 1024, allowing me the ability to basically 1024 is like saying 1080. It's like HD. 512 is like going straight to 480. It's nice. It's not super. I'm going to stick to 1024 because in Unity I can slice it down my texture all the way down to 64. I think by 64 all the way down to I believe 32 by 32, and all the way up to 4048 by 4048. So I have the ability to go big or small. So I'm going to choose 1024, which will give me enough detail to go both ways in the actual Unity engine, or in the other engine, or the ability to resize it in an image editor. I'm going to choose type mapping, and I'm going to click OK. Now that it has basically cut up the map and created a blank texture sheet, basically all the triangles are now mapped, and as we paint it, it's going to paint the actual color, the texture, onto the texture map. Basically a sheet that it cuts out that we can overlay onto the mesh. Okay, basically what we're going to do today, right now, is I'm going to actually choose my, oh good, it actually has my color I want for default. I want it a solid gray, dark gray, but with a nice gloss to it to make it almost look like in game mode. We have the ability to paint a bump or normal map, flatten it, and then just fill it with a solid color. We then have the ability to hit symmetry, only if enabled, As you can see, I am painting white. Let's just show you real quick. I have wire on and off. I love it on. I prefer it on. I have to have it on. You always, okay, when you get to your program, you're going to be like this. No advanced tools, so please click on advanced tools. This will allow us the ability to save the texture map, import a texture map because this can import your model, and then if you made it in here or in another program, and then import the texture map. Save normals, save bump maps, and then export to a Photoshop program, and then import from a Photoshop program. I'm going to choose my texture, which will be this dirt, rock, and grass texture, and choose the brush as the same thing. I will basically roughly color the area to where I want the ground to be. The good thing with this program is that I have the ability to click Unify Tools, and to do this I highly suggest you do so. The Unify tool is similar to the Unity engine or Unreal or even to another program's version of a tile editor. But Sculptris is more advanced than that. Sculptris takes the actual piece of art, the texture you're applying to it, and makes it more realistic, like in a random, more real. That's why I really like it. Something very similar to this would be John Carmack's It Take 5 texture painting. He has it when he created Unreal. They actually painted onto the texture, giving them a more realistic feel to it. Now I'm actually going to size up the texture, and increasing texture sizes and then going back adding small texture sizes gives us multiple layers. Now I've strength somewhat down, hardness down, so I have actual layers. So let me show you what I mean by that. I have multiple layers showing through with slight transparencies so that the previous level could shine through the other layer. So I'm going to go in with a smaller brush. Now if you zoom in, zoom out, it will actually resize the brush. I like to actually manually, so I like keeping usually the same height as I paint. The only problem is that you have to constantly move it instead of zooming out and zooming in and having the same brush size. So this is very nice right now. I will be painting up onto the rock a little bit so that I can have some leeway, because I will be painting the rock too, and I don't want any gaps in the texturing. So I'll be going a bit beyond, the sides and all that stuff. Now we won't be doing this layer. I will be adding in other textures. Like right now this is pretty good, so I'm actually going to add in a grass texture. The grass texture will be slightly less hard, less less on the strength, so that the previous texture does shine through, so it does look like it has dirt, grass, dirt, grass, dirt, grass. So you have a rich, detailed world. The reason I'm doing this is that in a PC game, you will have multiple layers on the texture maps. You will have, newspaper everywhere. You will have, dirt everywhere. You will have grass. You have multiple layers of everything. And so I want the same look and feel on an Android game. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these newest Android games really have a lot of detail in them, but they then have a lot of, the polygons, the triangle counts. Like, we're now at 355 triangles. They have to be cut to add in for more texture detail because that takes up space. I don't want to, subtract either. I want to find a middle ground. Why, if you only need 1 million, or say you create a character, you only need 500,000 triangles, and that's a ton. But you only need 500,000 triangles. But you have the budget of 1 million. Why would you use 1 million if you created the model and it's been okayed and it's got everything you need at 500,000 triangles? Why would you go for 1 million? It's just not necessary. You have the ability to use 500,000 triangles and something else for a budget. Same thing for an Android title. If you have a budget of 1,000, triangles, or no, let's say you have a budget for 2,000 triangles for a character. Because some of these, more advanced systems, since I have an i3, i5 tablet, can handle more. You have the ability to add in more triangles, and so you have a 5,000 triangle character. You only need 2,000 triangles. Why add even more? Because even though you can handle more, should you? Should you put in that extra amount just because you can? For example, one of these triangles can probably fit, 4 to 6 more triangles within it, but it wouldn't change the shape. If this shape is how you want it, why would you add even more to it if it's already how you want it? It just wouldn't. You don't need them right there. So I'm going to switch to already another color called ground foliage to add even more to this. But I will actually be painting over this. I actually just want it for the flowers to add extra filling to it. So I have basically the triangle count I want. I have the layering I want, so it actually looks realistic, like in a Crisis game, like really, really cool. So while it won't look, like a PC game, it will look, really good. So I'm going to go over it yet again, have some bleed through, but those textures are way too large, so I'm going to undo that. And we're going to do it again. We're going to have a little bit darker this time. And then we're going to go over it again with the grass texture. Again, this is also experimentation. You don't have to do multiple layers. If you found something that you really liked, then you just go with that. So we're going to go with a grass texture. And I'm actually going to lighten this a bit, because I do want the dirt to actually shine through it. We're going to go down a little bit further. As we move out. And it looks pretty good. Now we're going to move on to the mountainsides. I'm going to choose these bunches of rocks right here. But I actually won't be using them straight as a texture. So throw strength up, hardness up. I just want them to shine through the next texture I'm actually going to throw onto it. Because if you put a height map onto it, they will actually shine through. They will give a false bump to it. Again, I said I had to put some grass texture higher up because I'm actually going to be covering it with the rock, and then I'll be going over it with a dirt texture and some more grass texture. So that looks pretty good right there. I'm actually going to go over to a larger rock wall texture. I'm going to decrease the strength a bit, allowing me to be able to shine through a texture. We're going to put it actually also on the back side. As you can see, I am actually hitting the bottom, but I can always paint over it, so I'm not in too much worry. I'm gonna go back to that actual dirt texture, dirt path texture, and I'm actually going to decrease the hardness and the strength. And then I'll actually paint over this with a grassy texture. So it's layering. It's always precise detail. You always want to give the people who play the game a lot of detail. Now I'm going to go over it with a dirt grass texture. So again, I am transitioning from a straight dirt, but I'm not covering every bit of dirt. I still want some of that dirt coming through. So I'm gonna cover bits it up, and then I'm actually going to go over with the grass texture to just match it up with the original grass texture. Not cover everything. I still want some of the stuff to shine through. And maybe just try out some foliage. Maybe if I decrease the strength, just to give it a, maybe a little bit difference to it, like, maybe a color. Okay, it looks pretty good. Now I'm actually going to go over and color the rock. What I mean by color the rock is that this looks too, shiny, bright, all that happy, all that stuff. What I really want to do is give it a coloring, a hue, make it look old. I want it looking like, it's ancient rock. It's been there for several millions of years, a millennia, 1,000 or whatever years, very old. So I'm gonna change the hue. It's like an imaging program. I'm going to do the whole thing, and I'm going to give it more detail. I'm going to go back to grass because I did some of the grass over here. I'm going to size it down a bit. There you go. And this is your texturing. I had a model and texture. Sorry if I went a little bit fast. I just really enjoy this, and I find it fun. I really do. So to actually save this, you're gonna go to Save Map, Texture Map, and we're actually gonna save this. I'm just gonna say 1. Save as a PNG. You can save it as a JPEG, but it doesn't hold as much detail, or it doesn't do it as finely as a PNG. So I'm going to just save it as a texture, and then I'm going to also export it as a OBJ. So I'm just going to say again 1. Wavefront OBJ. You can also save it as a ZBrush file. So I'm going to select save as an OBJ, and then you can also import. So I'm going to say import level 1, new scene. Changes will be lost, but we're importing it right now. We're going to say OK. Has mapping data. No. You can actually go straight to modeling it, or just go to paint and go 1012. We're going to say OK. Now sometimes this doesn't work all the time. When you go, sometimes you really just need to go to paint instead of modeling it. But since I wanted to show you that, yeah, you can actually go to it if you lost the texturing and you actually just want to go back to modeling it. It doesn't fit right. You can go back to modeling it and add more details. If you want to go skip the Android version and go straight to the PC. There we go. And then we're going to actually open a texture map. So I saved it as 1, so we're going to open it. Yeah, it doesn't work as perfect, and that's what I don't like about this program, is that I opened it and it kind of messed it up. But what you can do, if you want to just change the texturing, is say new scene, just go straight to paint. OBJ has mapping, go to paint, yes. 1024, yes. And sometimes this will happen, it will actually mess it up. But new scene, yes. It depends, sometimes it doesn't, but it's not working with me right now. I'm gonna just click new scene. No, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you use this program. This program, yes, has its problems, but it is an alpha. It's in test phase. Sculptris, has, their expensive version of the program, and you spend a lot of money for that. Or you can use this, which I do use for my indie game development for my game that I'm currently making. And stick around for test of that. I will be actually setting up some tests pretty soon. I just got a job, so things may slow down a bit, but subscribe, like to keep up with the game, and with tutorials. I'll be doing a whole bunch of tutorials on some new programs that I think you will enjoy. So have fun with Sculptris and have a great day. Hello everybody, and here is what the level looks like in Unity. Let's select this. So you can see it does look really, really nice. I have Toon shader on, and let's select a Toon. There's night, ocean, gradient, tuning, lighting. So for a Jack and Dexter game, or something other, I guess, it looks really, really nice. Green tinting does do a whole lot for it. I really like the look of it. Let's get a look from the camera. Let's go to top view. And just rotate this guy around. Sorry if it's slow, I'm recording at the same time. So as you can see, it does actually look really nice. The character will be on the small side, so this will be large, but we're going to have platforms, so he's going to go higher and higher up. And then we're going to have some trees, some grass, all that stuff. So it looks really, really nice. You can get some really great details. And then, like I was saying, you can resize the texture map. So we're going to actually do that right now. So I guess this is what we call Sculptris / Tiny Unity tutorial. So, okay, here's the texture map. It is a 1024 by 1024. It is taking 0.7 megabytes, which is not a whole lot. But we're actually going to override standalone for the Mac and PC version, and we're going to size it down to 512. We're going to say OK. And as you can see, it actually, doesn't put as much detail, because you look right here. And then I'm going to put it on 1024, or click apply. And the 1024 map, you can see more detail. These little lines and ridges, you can see more detail. And then if we drop down to 256, you can see it's very almost DS quality. It's not that great. I mean, still, DS is 3D, but, you know, not that great. So, we're actually going to drop it down just one more. And you can see it even gets even worse. So, but we're going to pop this back up to, we're going to pop it up to 2048. Now, you can stretch these 1028 textures to add even super detail. I didn't because it's not needed. And let's see what the size is on a 512. Now remember, it's a 0.7, 170.7 kilobyte. And then for 1024, it is 0.7 megabytes. So I would actually, you know, even though you can see the cuts, the edges, all that stuff, I'd rather have something like this and a really decent texture than, you know, great textures, bad polygons, or, you know, great polygons, bad textures. You want to find a middle ground. Sorry about that, guys. Windows does crazy stuff sometimes. So you can see it looks very nice. I will be making and coding some more shaders. I will be actually importing some shaders too that I really like. I had to reset my Unity engine, but I really like this, and I hope you guys like it too. It is with the triangles on it, some light reflections, and a basic Toon map. So it looks really nice, and I hope you enjoy it when you play it on the Android. Bye, guys.